not breathe. That same thing that you said last night. Every time I find a little peace of mind, I hold on tight. 'Cause tomorrow may not bring the very same thing. No, no, no. Said none of the right there. You that care all. Just for me, I'm so glad that you that care all. Just for me, I'm so glad that you that care all. For a sinner like me.
Well, hello, Terrance. How are you doing today?
I'm good. What's happening?
Oh, we're just delighted to sit here and have you come in and have this word with us today. Could you kind of just tell us a little bit like where you're from before we get started into our story?
Well, I grew up in Denver, pretty much all over Northeast Denver. I lived in Montbello once or twice. I lived in Green Valley Ranch, but really my home base was really Northeast Park Hill.
So you are a native of Denver, Colorado.
Yes, sir. I was born in Denver General at the time. Now it's Denver Health, but yeah, right there off of Bannock, I was born.
I particularly was drawn to you behind you running for mayor. And we're not going to get into that right yet. I just wanted to try to give our audience a little bit of some of the journey that you were on to get to this point. Do you mind telling us or sharing a little bit with us?
You know, growing up in Northeast Denver, you know, I went from being an honor roll kid at MLK middle school. Now it was Martin Luther King Early College, but it was MLK Middle School at the time. When I left Park Hill, we moved to Green Valley Ranch to try to escape the gangs. But even back then, it was just as many gangs in Green Valley Ranch, far Northeast Denver, as it was springing up in Park Hill. And since we were from Park Hill, we just ended up moving back to Park Hill because we could understand the people and what was happening a little bit better. Ended up joining the Bloods, was very active involved with that gang as a youth. I was shot in my back and partially paralyzed during the Summer of Violence in 1993. I was shot again in 1994 and carted off to prison. For the next decade, I was pretty much locked up or in and out on parole and quickly locked right back up for years. And my last stint, I just said, I didn't want to do it anymore, man. I had actually seen a documentary on PBS about Martin Luther King, and he did that speech, "I have been to the mountaintop." And literally starting from that speech right there, it just kind of sparked my mind to start looking into revolutionary figures. And I found out that he was only 39 when he died. I've always thought about Martin Luther King, if I did think about him, that he was 59, 69 when he died. He didn't even see 40. Malcolm X was only 39.
But
he literally wasn't. I'm 40. I'm about to be 47. I'll call a 39-year-old a youngster right now.
Yes, that's what I was just getting ready to say with you. You know, from just that little brief exchange there, you seemed like a couple of times you almost didn't make it. You could have been cut off at the knees just as quickly or brutally. But what it sounds like, Terrance, is that the first shot didn't really stop you. You just kept pushing.
Yeah, no, man, I was really out there in those streets, man, because I love my community. You know, most people act like it's because they were super gangster or tough, man. All these gang members be scared. When the bullets was flying in that car, man, everybody ducking. You don't see nobody with their head held high shooting the Uzi while them bullets is flying into that car. I'm alive by luck, not because I'm tougher than no one. I'm alive because that certain bullet didn't waver to the right or to the left one end. I ended up getting shot again. I went to Kansas City, and when I really changed my life, man, I really got headstrong and serious about wanting to come back to Park Hill to the Five Points to Mount Bello, Green Valley Ranch, Aurora, man, all these Black communities, man, and really want to do something positive, man. I want to wear suits sometimes and talk to youth. I wanted to help single mothers. I want to help homeless people. I want to help my old homies, my old enemies even. It worked. It worked for a while until some gentlemen who I had grown up with were working for law enforcement and told some younger gentlemen to attack me in the Holly. And if you know my story, you know, I had a self-defense case where I had to defend my life in the Holly on my company's property.
Okay, Terrance, I hear you bringing up about this case and someone getting shot up here and you going to jail for it. Exactly, do you mind sharing with us, like, what happened?
No, I mean, a bunch of bloods who were working for law enforcement tried to jump on me, said I was working for law enforcement. I was not. I was protesting law enforcement over Trayvon Martin getting killed by George Zimmerman. And I had my pistol on me because they were calling me a snitch. They tried to attack me. A young man got shot. He is paralyzed. He ended up recovering, though, doing a bunch of drive-by shootings in the city. And he was found with a murdered 2-year-old baby on his lap. And he's currently incarcerated for beating to death a 2-year-old little girl. And of course, I was exonerated at trial. I was found not guilty. Now it's became an award-winning book, The Holly, and the documentary, The Holly, which is streaming on Hulu, Stars, and Amazon Prime and Apple TV. It's streaming on pretty much all major platforms. And I really left organizing for a couple of years until Nipsey Hussle, a young Crip rapper out of Los Angeles, he passed away. And I have an Eritrean daughter, a daughter with an Eritrean woman, and her family's from Africa, and he's Eritrean. He grew up in LA. And I had some communication with Nipsey before he passed. And the Crips and Bloods in LA were getting together because of his passing. And, you know, people were hitting me up like, let's do it here in Denver. Let's do it again. I was like, all right, as long as you're not scared, let's do it. You know, those are 2 rules.
How did it work out?
Worked out great. People act like our people don't know how to act. Our people are very tribal and very respect-driven because of the systemic oppression we've been through. Man, them Bloods and Crips, they know how to act if they respect the right people there, and it's kids and women. You know, you'd be surprised, man, how much fun and how much culture could be there. We could really just get them brothers and sisters together.
You know,
it's much better being with some brothers and sisters who know about the streets and who involved with the struggle than it is a bunch of Black politicians. I'll tell you that.
Things that you're talking about, I had not been involved like that. And one time I talked to a young man that was kind of heavily involved in it, and I asked him, why is it that, you know, it's hearing about how the news portray everything going on and highlighting it. How do you get 2 people like that to stop? I said, why can't you just stop? And he said, because one side to do something to the other side. And, you know, when there's death and stuff involved, people can't let go. I know that death is in a lot of that stuff. How is it that you all were able to come together on one accord and have that good time?
I mean, it started off with the fact that I had lived that life and people had respect for me. I didn't leave the gangs because I debriefed and told on anyone or anything. I left the gang because I just wanted better for my community and people respected that. So it started with the respect level, and then it started with me being genuine, reaching out to brothers who I had previously had beefs with, them brothers reaching out to me, you know, accepting. And it started with us. We had our own little core group, but as gang stuff flared up, and we started getting, you know, different jobs and careers and media attention with my activism. It was just a natural progression that people were asking me to step up, and it wasn't like I was just like, I'm gonna do this. People was like, yo, T, what's up? And you was a respected blood, and these were Crips coming to me like, if we want to have that conversation, can you talk to them? And the Bloods had no problem with me. So I'll tell them, I say, hey man, these brothers are saying this or that. And as long as it was something positive and not instigating, you know, I didn't mind relaying the message. They knew each other. You know, man, them brothers, if you from the 5 Points, you know somebody from Park Hill, that's for sure. You know, you might be cousins. You know, a girlfriend, basketball, school. And that was the problem, is these kids did know each other. We did know each other. Because some of us who grew up in Park Hill, a lot of us became Bloods, but a few people became Crips. They didn't like the Bloods for whatever reason. Some of them guys on the 5 Points became Bloods. They didn't feel were respected by the Crips, and we went to each other's houses. We dated each other's sisters and homegirls and all those things, and we hurt each other, but we were kids. And like now that we were adults, people were coming to me saying, "Man, let's do something for our generation," because you can't force no one. You can't make no one stop. Even if the police can't make somebody stop doing homicides. Terrance Roberts, definitely, I'm not going to do it. We just set up safe spaces around our group of ex-Bloods and Crips. But we also invited other ones our rules were, if you're scared, don't come, because then you're going to bring bad energy and be mean. And if you want to hurt somebody, just don't come. If you don't support it, it's okay. Don't come. You know, I know somebody's brother got killed, or somebody jumped on you at the Aurora Mall and beat you up in front of all the girls. So that's all kind of stuff done happened. Someone that stole someone's car and they Dayton's was on it. You know, we had all kind of beefs like that going on. Well, those guys stayed away. They stayed away because I had a good group of respected guys and women around, and we just kept it core. But for people who wanted to join that core and be positive, it just kind of grew. And not everyone was a part of it. Every Crip didn't come, every Blood didn't come, but so many came that we had more of a positive voice around it, and we were able to lower violence for about 5 or 6 years in the city of Denver.
Well, you really did a great job, and a lot of times that isn't publicized as much as the negative things.
Yeah,
and then,
I appreciate it.
I also heard, like, through this, that you are also involved in something, if you don't mind touching on, the Prodigal Son.
I founded the Prodigal Son Initiative. It was a 501c3 nonprofit. I founded when I got out of prison, out of the halfway house in 2004, actually. And we grew it, man. I ran it for 11 years. We grew it. I left it when I had to fight my self-defense case from the Holly, and they changed the name to Impact Empowerment. It was the Prodigal Son for 10 years, 11 years. Yeah, we did a lot of work. We had thousands of kids come through our program. They had an award-winning after-school program. That's the mechanism I used to lower violence. When the Holly was burned down by those 9 young Crip gang members, we used the 501c3 from Prodigal Son to raise the money to put the peace courts in the Holly, and to also do the community engagement to get the $5 million for the Boys and Girls Club that's over. Prodigal Son did a lot of work. I never could have imagined it. It's literally an example of starting from a mustard seed, man. I was an ex-gangbanger, ex-convict, man. And I started Prodigal Son. I did the paperwork to the IRS in my basement. Okay. I was in my basement, man, in Aurora. I was living in Aurora at the time, man, off of Mississippi and Peoria.
Introducing New Meat, a very new product for your skin. And oh, for the inside? Oh yes, we have something there for you as well. Together, it is a health choice that I'm sure you will enjoy. Check it out. New Meat.
We brought millions of dollars to the inner city just by doing the work, just by being from over there. And I had my salary. Sometimes I couldn't even pay my salary, but as long as my salary, I got my salary last. I got divorced, man, running that nonprofit. It was rough. Shout out to my ex-wife for sticking by me as long as she did. It was rough, but we got everything done. No funds were ever misappropriated. We got a great nationally awarded youth center over there. Now the African American Center for Health is there. In the Holly, and I spearheaded that through Prodigal Son.
I've been up on that Holly for a while. Know about that Holly
shopping
center and the fire, and in your book, the book that was based around that and things, you know, on that sign when you see Archway, that was my studio over there. So
yes, that's history though, man.
Yeah, I understand exactly the time you're talking about. And before we get further, Terrance, is there something that you could say was a pivotal point for when you actually just said, I'm done with this kind of walk and want to turn it into a more positive direction?
I was on my way back to prison, and they hit me with habitual criminal count.
Mm.
I had shot into somebody's car with a Mac 11. They found the Mac 11 in my grandmother's house on 29th and Pontiac. Miss Ernestine Boyd, who ran A&A Fish Market for 40 years over in
Hey.
2896
Oh
Fairfax.
yeah.
I was living with her. They came and tore her house all up. Found the gun in the bushes, but they tore her house up. You know, my family was raised in that house on 2955 Pontiac, you know, and it just really, man, I put my grandma through hell, my family through hell. My family was at war. It's funny, at that time, my whole family was at war with the Crips, and then we ended up transferring that after I had to defend myself. We were into it with the Bloods, and I built that gang in Ernestine's living room. And in Ernestine's back den, man, we built that gang in Park Hill to defend the community. And when I was looking at life in prison for actually shooting at a Blood, and he was cooperating with law enforcement, I was still a Blood still, you know, Bloods. It started off as like a brotherly love thing, but now the number one killer of Bloods is Bloods. The number one killer of Crips has always been Crips. You know, west of the Mississippi, Crips have the Bloods outnumbered still 5-1. Bloods just seem like it's a lot, but it's still a lopsided war, and Crips have always been at war with each other. Some Crip and Blood gangs have even combined forces to fight bigger Crip gangs. I was sitting in jail, man. I was looking at life sentence. And I was just like, God, if you could give me a sliver of hope to have my life back, I promise I'll go back to the community and whatever it takes, just like in the book Isaiah. And I'm not trying to preach, I'm just telling you my transition.
You could
It was a verse in there, and Isaiah was just like, who will go for the Lord? You know, the Lord was asking me, he was like, here I am, here am I, send me, you know, and I just made that promise to God, and God got a sense of humor, because he's roughed me up over these years since I made that promise. It's been a rough journey, but I'm not complaining. Like, I've been through worse, getting shot, waking up.
Come on now. That's all I want. That's what that's kind of what I want to hear, is that you know the difference, really, from what you said about the choices he made, but you were willing to go wherever he was to send you. And I can guarantee you, and I'm sure you know by now, he can send you places that you would have never imagined, like what we're getting ready to get into.
Yeah, I've been to Haiti. I mean, I've been to all through New York, walking all through New York, Chicago. I mean, I've been to places before I stopped gangbanging. Activism has taken me all over the place, man. Those are places growing up in Northeast Denver and gangbanging and being locked up most of my life at that time. I could only imagine about. I've only had heard about Chicago. I've only heard about Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I had only heard about the Bronx. It was through the activism that I went to all these places, all these banquets, and you name it, man. Just things that really have expanded my mind. I'm a home inspector now. I'm traveling all over the country to do home inspections. You know, but now I've been to Detroit. I've been to Orlando. You know, these are historical places, man. That if I would have stayed a Blood, I probably would have been killed 15 different times in 15 different ways. I just thank God, man, that, you know, I'm here, even if I don't become the mayor, which we really think that I have a really good chance of becoming the mayor. The journey's been amazing, and I'm here for it.
So. Well, let's talk about that, because your background and with the activities that are still going on, not just in gangs, just the way society have our youth and against each other, afraid, bullies. There's a whole spectrum of things. It seems like you would be very helpful in our city. What is it that got you into this race, into why you wanted to become political at this time?
Well, you know, I have studied the Black Panthers, and, you know, they got tired of shootouts with the police and pumping bullhorns too, man. Bobby Seale ran for Congress. I've gotten tremendous success doing organizing in 20 years. We've stopped some gang wars cold, but I'm not in control of that. I can't tell them Bloods and Crips what to do. They just respected the plug we were doing at the time to plug the violence. You know, that's a taxing thing. You can't do that forever. You can't do that when you're 70. You don't know these 17-year-olds. I protested for Trayvon Martin. Elijah McClain, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. I drafted Senate Bill 217. That's the first police accountability legislation passed in the United States. We passed it here in Colorado, Juneteenth. Governor Polis signed it into law. I drafted that, and it's also House Bill 1250 too. So, I've done all that work. Pumping the bullhorn. In 2020, we had 11,000 people downtown.
Okay.
I'd be lucky to get 111 people downtown right now. And that's just it ebbs and flows. We had COVID. I was a seasoned career community organizer. I fashioned myself a revolutionary. Anybody can say they are activists now. I've done revolutionary work, and I can prove it. And not everybody can say they're a revolutionary. Just like when I was a gang member, everybody couldn't say that it was a blood or crip. It won't end bad for you saying you're a revolutionary. I'm not. It's not violent, but I have shed blood, and there has been violence around my organizing due to police interference. We've done revolutionary work in Colorado. That moment has passed. And I felt like if I really wanted to do something that's going to really make change in the 5 Points, really make change in Northeast Park, Hill, Montbello, really stop these gang-related homicides, our general fund is almost $1.5 billion. The mayor's office in Denver County as a municipality also gets another $1.5 billion in state and federal subsidies. So we're getting about $3 billion in the city, and the mayor has almost total autonomy to draft that budget through their administration, pass it to city council. But once city council passes that budget, the mayor can shovel and push around millions of dollars. And that's what we need. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Black man. I'll be talking about the struggles of the 5 Points in Park Hill and African Americans in Denver, even if I was a white man. That's where the struggle is. And if anybody who wants to be our next mayor, if they're going to be mayor for 12 more years, I said they're going to have to beat me, and good luck, because I may not raise $800,000, but we making it look like I got $800,000. So I have name recognition. I got a scrappy team, and I am raising money. I have great media around me right now. So we're making them work harder for it and have to pay way more for it. And we still think I'm about to make the runoff. Mail-in ballots drop tomorrow, and the election is April 4th. Vote for Terrance Roberts if you're serious about change. Or I'm worried about Northeast Denver, man. We are the second most gentrified city in America besides San Francisco. But mind you, San Francisco got a huge trillion-dollar tech boom industry. We didn't even get that in Denver. We're gentrified by lack of real leadership. Our leaders selling us out, and by lack of true governance. That no trillion-dollar tech industry, just apartments.
You're really saying some things that are true. I'm not in the political realm as much, but I have heard about how people in positions where they could help us, they haven't been helping. And I've heard that coming from a lot of different sources. One thing about you, Terrance, that I've learned just talking with you this little bit is that you're a young man to me, and plus, you've lived a lot. And you have been raised up from being down a lot, not just one time, a couple of times. And when I talk to you, you yourself is in a position, and truthfully, you're way more intelligent and articulate than I had thought. And I have seen you and read part of the book and everything. And I'm really glad that I met you. And I hope that everybody that would be there would look at that ballot, take a look at it, and see Terrance Roberts and give you a great look, because you really have put a lot into that community, into Denver. You can show it, prove it. And I know that a lot of people may not think that's a lot. One candidate may have, like you said, $1 million behind him to campaign. But really, they don't know Denver, haven't been around it like you have been around. And then when you speak of these people that have been given money and sponsors donated that money, you have actually, through your organizations, Prodigal Sons and things, handled and pulled in that much money. So I think that you'll be, really, that you probably be as good a choice as I've seen so far, or that's came and talked to me. So I'm going to be wishing you luck, my brother. Not luck.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pray that God has his will over whatever it is that he has for you. Since you're on that journey, we'll just see how it play out. Now, before we wrap it up and go on, is there anything that you might would like to say to someone that, how can I say, have been through gangs and been in gangs and want to turn their life into a more positive direction? Is there something that you would like to say?
Yeah, man, it's tragic that some of the most funniest, handsomest, beautiful, intelligent, fun-loving warrior people I ever met, man, are either dead or just locked up, either physically in prison or mentally and physically locked up due to alcohol and drugs, due to the trauma that we experience in the gang world, the fighting, the backbiting, the abusive relationships, all the stuff, man, just to keep it 100, keep it real and all that. And none of it was keeping it real, man. It was really just a self-genocide. And if I could survive it, luckily, because I'm not saying I was no tougher than no one or smarter. If I could do what I'm doing, that's part of why I'm running for mayor. Not only do we believe I could win this election, but I'm also running for, okay, let's say if I do lose, I'm not stupid. I know it can happen. I've lost before and I've won too. If I do lose, at least we're making them say we need more public housing in Denver. If I do lose, because out of 8,000 homeless people in Denver, almost half of them are Black people from the 5 Points, Park Hill, and Montbello. But yeah, we make up now less than 10% of the city's population. But we got thousands of homeless Black people up and down Colfax and Downing and on Grant Street. If you're driving by there, take a look at who you see standing around on bus stops. And a lot of those are ex-gang members. A lot of those are ex-crack dealers, crack smokers, people who've been sexually abused, physically abused. It was rough growing up in Denver, man. I've worked in LA, I've worked in Haiti, I've seen worse in Denver. It was rough on some of them cold winter days in Denver with a gang war going on, and nobody ever thought nobody would ever care about us tucked away in this city. There's thousands of cities to be worried about. Nobody cared about us. So, man, if you grew up in that lifestyle, just let my example be an example. You could run for mayor too. Yeah. You could run for city council. You may not want to be in politics. You could do a podcast like you're doing, Mr. Parson. You could do whatever you want to do. If somebody else is doing it, and I challenge myself to do it. I said, yeah, if I can't win this election, I'm going to take my ex-gangbanger, ex-convict self, and I'm going to do a good job at it. Because who cares about what I did 20 years ago? Even the positive things I've been doing. I haven't been bringing up my accolades. I've won international awards, hundreds of them, certificates, all of that, in LA, everything. What matters is what I'm going to do in the future. And I try to present myself. If you never heard about me, you don't know if I've been in the gang. You don't know about my struggles. I don't try to wear it on my sleeve because that's a form of defeat to me. If you wear the trauma on your sleeve just to show it, man, that's, there's a lot of business people who are millionaires. They've been through a lot of trauma too, military, all that. You can't tell it until they talk to you. And that's how I want to represent my community. I'm not ashamed of my history, but it's not everybody's business what I've been through. When you see me represent Park Hill right now, I want the last images of me to be with a suit on, talking positive about what our next steps are. The Black vote in Denver counts more than ever right now, even though we're less than 10% of the population, but nobody's polling higher than 5%. The Black vote alone can put me into the runoff or help me just win this election flat out without a runoff. So Terrance Roberts, y'all, either with your mail-in ballot, I'm number 6 on the ballot, or be in line before 7 p.m. April 4th, 2023. So thanks, Denver, and God bless, and let's see what happens. We think I'm gonna be the next mayor of Denver, Lord willing. And if Lord is not willing for that to happen, I'm still here, and we're gonna do something else.
Well, that's all you can do. That's all you can do. But another thing, you're in the fight. You know what it's about. Yeah. I really thank you because I really did not expect all of what you got into. But as you were speaking, I really felt there was a reason that this had to be said, and you said it quite well. And I know there's so much that I would love to talk to you about, and I wish you would come back sometime, because I would like to get more into your book and things of that nature as well, if you don't mind.
No, we'll come, let's see what happens with this election April 4th, and I'll come back, man. Hopefully I'm in the runoff, and we can do a bigger show, because if I'm in this runoff, it's going to be hard to, I'll make sure I do your show, but it's going to be hard to book me, because it's going to, then it's going to be.
Well, you done already said it. You're going to make sure. Yeah. So I'm good.
People make time for what's important.
And you made time for Where Were You today. And my brother, I appreciate you, and I thank you for giving us your time.
All right, brother. Have a good day. I'll see you later. Thank you.
As well.
All right. Peace. Terrance Roberts, y'all. Either with your mail-in ballot. I'm number 6 on the ballot.
Well, another episode of Where Were You? And we would like to thank our guests for this evening. Also want to thank New Me. New Me helps sponsor Where Were You? So go on and check it out. New Me /Arkway. Also, go on and hit that like. Go on and hit subscribe. Go on and hit that share. Go on and leave a comment. And if you find anyone that has a story, let me know. And hey, you bless someone today.